Whew. How you doing? Hello, everyone. Welcome back here. Christopher here with the Lunchroom Syndicate, talking Jaguars. You may notice no reaction video from the loss this week. Here's my reaction to the loss. What else is new? I am here to talk about the very breaking, as of this recording and live stream, James Robinson trade to the Jets for a conditional six. That could be a fifth. I don't know the conditions. I haven't looked into it. But let's talk about this. There's a lot of anger on Twitter with Jags fans. James Robinson was a huge player. Hey, Cat. For the Jags. One of their main and only offensive pieces the last couple of years, really, if you think about it. Unbelievable, undrafted free agent running back. And that's the thing. And we need to come to terms with something here. You need to look at this trade. Look, it sucks losing James Robinson, and I don't know if I fully agree with the idea of trading him now. Is having James Robinson on your team better than getting a sixth-round pick? Probably, right? But the Jags made it clear the last couple of weeks that James Robinson wasn't in the plans this year and wasn't in the plans for the future. It was pretty obvious. I'm guessing there was some behind-the-scenes stuff with him, and they probably talked about, they wanted to go ETN more, and they wanted to do right by him. Maybe this is a do right by situation where they realize that the two-head really doesn't work with James Robinson, because James Robinson is one of those guys that needs a lot of carries to be effective. Obviously, there's some sadness, in terms of losing James Robinson, because he has been so important to this team the last couple of years. But having him on the team still meant 6 wins, right? And we need to be realistic here and understand some things. When he was doing good his rookie season, I told my brother, and we just actually had this text. I said, the irony of this is his status as an undrafted free agent will ultimately screw him when his contract comes up, because running backs are a dime a dozen. Decent running backs, like he is. Good running backs. Elite running backs? No, of course not. But even Christian McCaffrey didn't even go for a first round. He got 4 draft picks, but Christian McCaffrey's, without injury, is a substantially better back than James Robinson. Sorry, that's the truth. With that said, ETN has been the better back this year. Welcome to that world. Look, I love James Robinson as much as anybody, but ETN's been better, and I hate that draft pick. I still hate the fact that we took a first-round pick with him. When we could have got him at the second round, and could have got someone that we needed there, but he's been the better back. He's shown flashes of that. Just concerned if he can be an every down back, sure, but that we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The writing has been on the wall, as I said, for a while now. The Jags drafted Snoop Conner, a very similar back to James Robinson. Maybe almost identical if you think about it. If you look at him, I think Snoop Conner has more speed than people give him credit for. Football speed, he's not like fast, but again, that's not what you're drafting him for. And that's the thing with James Robinson. There was a time where a running back like James Robinson would be heralded as a great back and would be an important piece to a team. He's not that. He's not. He's a solid running back. I'd rather him on the team than not. But the Jags were going to bind with him because you're not. His next contract, if you're going to pay him $9 million a year, sorry. The reality is, it's too much. So the Jags did what they had to do. I'm not a fan of Trent Bullock. I'll be the first to say it. I think some of his moves have been interesting. And, I would rather him have gone in the offseason just as much as anybody. But we have to be honest with ourselves here. It sucks. I'd rather keep him, yeah. Ultimately, if that's the choice, I'd rather keep him. But if you're going to try to do right by the player, and I think this is part of it, honestly. Because the one thing you can say about, like, Shad Khan is he's going to try to do right by his players sometimes. Like, he's not, like, a terrible owner in that respect. He's a terrible owner. But, like, with his players, he's not... He seems like a guy that's, not going to keep guys around that doesn't want to be there. And I think that's part of it. I wouldn't be surprised if James Robinson didn't want to be there anymore. Why would he? He lost the starting job. He got 0 touches last week. Knee injury or lower body injury or not. And there's Onyx in the background. But we got to be honest, the trade. Look, a lot of people, I see a lot of people, oh my God, we only got a 6th round pick. I can't believe we got a 6th round pick. I'm going, someone gave up a 6th round pick and possibly a 5th. I'd say it's a decent deal for both sides. Jets were kind of desperate for a running back, and Jags were willing to get rid of James Robinson. You can hate the trade. You can hate trading him. You can hate trading him, and I would agree with you. But if you think there was more out there for a James Robinson, I got news for you. There wasn't. There was never going to be. Nobody's giving up a 4th. Nobody's giving up a straight 5th. You can have all the grand illusions in your head. You can have all the bullshit in your head of how the Rams would take a 2nd rounder for it. No, they wouldn't. If they would have, it would have already been done. This didn't just happen in an hour. We need to realize that this has probably been a trade. And obviously, I think the Jets was a relative new thing, but a trade's probably been in the works for a while. They probably have been talking to teams about James Robinson. I have no way of knowing that, but realistically, that's probably was the case. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out with the way they've been using him, the way things have been going. James Robinson was not part of this future. They were going to get something back for him. You could say, like, well, is James Robinson better than that 6th round pick that's probably not making the team? Of course he is. But do I want James Robinson at $8 million a year? No, I don't. I love James Robinson. Again, I thought he was a good back. But that's it. He wasn't good back. They're pretty easy to find in the draft. They're easy to find in free agency. You don't. Look, people, this year's been a little bit of an anomaly where running the ball has come back in vogue, which is nice, but it still doesn't discount the fact that running backs are a dime a dozen. Despite their importance, they're still a dime a dozen. You can still find good backs all over the place. Breece Hall for the Jets before he got injured, what was a 2nd, 3rd round pick? And he's good. Not the Foreman, who's going to be starting for the Panthers, has looked decent at times when he started. He was a 3rd round pick. Arian Foster, remember him for the Texans? He was really good. Maybe a better version, like a rich man's James Robinson in a lot of ways. He was an undrafted free agent, and he had injury problems. The thing is, and that's the thing. Even pre-injury, James Robinson wasn't a fast back. I remember making a comparison, I think it was my brother, that I thought he reminded me of, I don't know how many people remember him from the Chicago Bears a number of years back, Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard out of Indiana, went to Chicago, and, seemed like a really good back. Was a 1,000-yard rusher multiple times, and, blah, blah, blah. The thing is, though, in today's NFL, that's great, but you need to be more than that. And Jordan Howard was a good back. He had 1,000 yards his first 2 seasons, another 900 plus in his next season, although it was only at 3.7 yards per carry. Had 6.99 in terms of TDs. He was a really good running back. But you know what's funny? He went to Philly, and the stats declined. They declined. Because backs like that don't last in the NFL. You gotta have speed. You gotta have quickness. James Robinson doesn't have that. Sorry. There's a reason he went undrafted. It sucks, but we have to be honest as fans, as people, about a running back like James Robinson. I like him. I'm not. This isn't me bashing James Robinson. This is me being honest about James Robinson. The Jets got a good back that they need. Where are the Jags going? What are we gonna do with them? What? So maybe we win 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, maybe. Again, we've had James Robinson the last 2 years. We won 3, 4 games in 2 years, and part of this year was 3. But when we gave James Robinson the ball this many times this year, it was 2-0. We didn't. We were 0-5. We also lost all 5 games by 1 possession because of just stupidity and bad play. So we need to be honest. And obviously, initial reactions always suck. You're never a fan of this type of deal, but the Jags got a good deal. And the Jets got a good player. James Robinson. You're gonna look at that contract next year. Whoever he happens to sign with, they ain't gonna. I really doubt it's going to be the Jets, because he's a restricted free agent. Restricted being the key word there. Very rare thing in the NFL, but it is something to keep in mind. But I doubt he plays for the Jets unless Bryce Hall is seriously not hurt to the point of not coming back right away. They might but even that's going to be at a team-friendly $4 or $5 million deal. He's not going to get some $10 million deal, and if any team gives him that, it's going to look bad in a hurry. So as far as the Jags go, does this mean that they're in rebuild mode or they're in sell mode? I've seen a lot of that. Oh, they're in sell mode. Maybe. But what do you do at this point? There's not much to sell on this team because a lot of it's young. There's a few guys that you could talk about, but I think James Robinson wasn't a sign of necessarily sell-off time. I think it was a sign of they just weren't going to use him anymore. They liked Hasty more, for right or wrong, and maybe when they have a Snoop Conner waiting in the wings, that's a very, very similar back to James Robinson, like it or not. Well, his stats: he was a 1,000-yard rusher in his first year, and that's great. But he only had 767 last year. He did have more rushing touchdowns, less receiving touchdowns. His yards per carry in his career is 4.5. That's amazing. I'm not denying these things, folks. I'm not. He's a solid back. I want to make that clear that I think he's a good back. I think he's a solid back. But he's not an elite back. I'm sorry. I'll say it again. A running back like James Robinson, you can find those, man. Dime a dozen. Jeff Wilson was having a good season up until... And the Niners thought they needed to go after Christian McCaffrey. I would disagree with that, but that's just because it's a screwed fantasy team. But actually, in all honesty, I don't think that's a good trade for the Niners. Like, at all. But I'm not the Niners. We're not talking about Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb. Talk about James Robinson. A mid-tier running back in this league. A solid running back. Should have been drafted. No doubt in my mind. Should have been drafted. But as I said before, as I said to my brother, when it first came out of left field with him, I said James Robinson's own worst enemy when it comes to next contract is James Robinson. Because smart teams are going to realize they don't need to pay James Robinson to get the guy like him. There's many of them out there. The Jags drafted another one. And Snoop Conner's probably not going to be as productive. I'm not saying he's going to be as productive. But first off, he's not going to get the playing time because of ETN. And even the Jags themselves didn't trust the first year of James Robinson because they went out and drafted ETN. Which, again, I think was a dumb mistake based off the draft position. there's other stats I could throw out there about how James Robinson has the highest stuff rate this year, or one of the highest, and ETN's look more explosive, and the team looks better with ETN having the ball to James. It's really irrelevant at this point. So, on that note, in conclusion, my thoughts are I hate to see him go. In reality, I'd rather probably have kept him over getting a sixth round pick or a fifth round pick. The reality is, if they're going to trade him, if they're going to do right by the player in this scenario of saying, hey, we're moving on, we're giving ETN the vast majority of carries. We'll try to see if the contender wants you. The Jets are a contender? Question mark. 5-2. You gotta give them that. They did right by him and got probably the maximum they were gonna get. Whether you disagree with that or not, that's fine. But they weren't getting more than that. They weren't. I think the last couple weeks they've tried. I genuinely believe that. With that said, maybe all that comes out here in the next couple weeks about looking into the trades and stuff. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe the Jets were the first one to call. Or maybe the Jags were like, you know what, let's see what's out there. Called a few teams, nobody's really interested, or a seventh round or a sixth round. Jets like, yeah, we'll make it a fifth under certain circumstances. Hell yeah, we'll take it. I don't know. I'm not in that front office, so I have no idea. With that said, good luck to James Robinson. Hope he does well with the Jets. I really do. And I think he could. Getting that full-time job. So, for this year only, most likely. There will be a bit of a timeshare with Michael Carter, I'm sure, because Michael Carter knows the offense over James Robinson. But obviously, I wish him luck. Hope he does well. He plays the Jags later this year. That's going to be fucking brutal. So, but because he's going to go for like 150 and 3 TDs. You just know it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to the Jags. The Jets going to beat the Jags by 40 or something stupid. It is what it is. It's going to be a nice revenge game. But I'll be curious to see what happens going forward with his career because, he's a restricted free agent, which is a very weird thing in the NFL. It's a very rare thing with how kind of all that works. Typically, undrafted free agents aren't that good to a point where that becomes an issue. But here we are with James Robinson, and what will the Jets do? Will they just release him because they do have a starting running back, ultimately, and a really good one at that, in Bryce Hall, arguably one better than James Robinson. I mean, they could sign if James Robinson wants a small contract, it'd be a nice 1-2 punch. But they also took a second round pick on Michael Carter, or third round, whatever that was. So you have to keep that in mind too. That's my reaction video. I understand people disagree. Let me know why. If you agree, tell me why. Or tell me if you disagree and think the Jags could have got more. Give me your reasoning why. Because that's what I'm failing to see is the reasoning why. Because I see a lot of people go, I love James Robinson. There's no way you couldn't get more than a 6th round pick, and I haven't got good reason yet. Because everything tells you that running backs are dime a dozen. Even the Jets, you could make a case, made kind of a dumb deal. There's real, obviously they got almost a bit of a panic trade for a starting running back. Obviously, I don't trust Michael Carter. That's very clear at this point. But, obviously, they felt the need and they gave up a draft capital. Again, it's a 5th or 6th round pick. Who gives a shit? I would trade a 5th or 6th for a useful player every day of the week. But I digress. With that said, thank you everybody. Thank you for watching this video. If you see it later on and I look like an idiot because James Robinson goes off 1,400 yards the rest of the season and 20 touchdowns, let me know. Until next time, Christopher with the Luncher Syndicate. I hope the Jags win again this year. I really do, but I don't see it. I don't want the first overall pick again. Until next time.